Okay, welcome, everyone. It's nice to be in Berthoud. We do this twice a year, and it's always nice to come down here. Laura Lee, I'm called the meeting to order. Laura Lee, if you would call the roll.
Here.
Amy Doran.
Here.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Here.
Don Kirk.
Here.
Barbara Cruz.
Here.
Jarrett Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. And Stu, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag, I believe, is over there somewhere? Yeah?
There it is.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will go ahead and read the mission statement tonight. The Thompson School District will be a school district that empowers, challenges, and inspires students, faculty, staff, parents, school leaders, and community members to learn, achieve, and excel. And the first item on the agenda for tonight is the adoption of the agenda, and I will entertain a motion and a second to do that.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion from Dawn and a second from Barb to approve the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? No? Seeing none, Laura Lee, if you would call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Jarrett Roberts.
Aye.
Thank you, and the agenda is unanimously adopted. Next is approval of minutes from the October 6th meeting. And I will entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion from Jarrett and a second from Stu to approve the minutes from October 6th. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? No? Seeing none, Laura Lee, please call the roll.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Jarrett Roberts.
Aye.
All right, and the minutes are unanimously approved as well. First up is the public participation portion of tonight's meeting. Item 4.1 is the superintendent's report. Dr. Schaefer.
So good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Education. As President Vista Ward indicated, prior to this meeting, we had an opportunity to have dinner and just an informal meeting with members of the town of Berthoud, which included the city manager, the mayor, and a couple of members of the mayor's staff. And so we deeply appreciate the partnership and the collaboration and cooperation that we enjoy with the town of Berthoud. And again, a special thank you to the staff and administration of Berthoud High School for accommodating us this evening. So we appreciate them very much. This week, we celebrate Classified Appreciation Week. And when I talk about classified, I'm talking about our groundskeepers, those that work within operations, nutrition service workers, transportation workers, and school building staff as well. We have quite a few classified staff members, and a lot of times they are behind the scenes, they are in front of the scenes, they are in the scenes. Our classified staff work very, very hard. They work hard to support our district and our schools. They work hard to support our staff as well, and we are just grateful and appreciative for their work. So I know a little bit later in our agenda, we will be, the board will be asked to pass a proclamation commemorating Classified Appreciation Week, but on behalf of our entire district, we appreciate gratefully the work that classified staff do. The Thompson Education Foundation, or TEF, will be holding their Trick or Treat drive-through experience next weekend on Saturday, October 30th. This is a socially distanced family event held from 10 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. and will be held right at our Thompson School District campus on 800 South Taft Avenue. Families drive through in 30-minute segments and collect tricks, treats, and other exciting items And at last look, I think 50% of the tickets had already been sold, so it is definitely capped. And so you can go ahead and either visit the TEF website or the Thompson School District Facebook page, and there's a link to register. I believe it's $5 a car. Today, the Kids Pack program and Safeway kicked off their annual Turkey Bucks, Santa Bucks program at their store located on the corner of Wilson Avenue and Eisenhower Boulevard in Loveland. This year's goal is to raise $45,000 for Kids Pack, which will be distributed to Thompson families in need in the form of $50 Safeway gift cards. Donations to the program can be made at any regional Safeway store. And ultimately, we are hoping to serve hundreds of families. This is a very exciting event that Safeway is partnering with us on. And in the past, we've provided sacks of groceries or turkey dinners. Now it will be $50 gift cards, which allows for some agency and choice when people go shopping for their holiday meals. So very excited, and we appreciate Safeway. Finally, tonight we are at Berthoud High School, and so I am proud to introduce our principal from Berthoud High School, Gordon Boschman. And Gordon, I know, has brought several students and maybe staff with him. And so, as you know, at each board meeting, we honor and recognize a school and just showcase some of the great things they're doing. And so we're at Berthoud High School, and there's plenty to showcase here. So, Gordon, you can come forward, please.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Schaefer, Board of Education members, and cabinet members. My name again is Gordon Boschman. I'm the building principal here at Berthoud High School. I am in my third year in this position at Berthoud. I have lived in the Thompson School District for the past 20 years, and 2 of my children have graduated from the Thompson School District. I am thrilled to offer you a brief fall update for our high school, and then give you the opportunity to meet and interact with a few of our amazing staff and members, staff members and students who are part of 2 outstanding student clubs at Berthoud High School. So just a quick update. Our enrollment numbers here at Berthoud High School are increasing. We had 650 students last October 2020, and our current enrollment is about 700 students right now. We had to make some adjustments in late August to add 3 additional freshman section classes to accommodate the increase in our enrollment numbers. If you will have noticed being here tonight that we have some facility improvements. The major bond work over the past 2 years have included a new synthetic turf and LED instant-on lights on our football field, along with the replacement of the track surrounding that field. Parking immediately surrounding the stadium was also upgraded. We have some furniture upgrades to approximately 80% of our classrooms and common areas. This theater had some upgrades, including sound, video, lighting, and stage flooring. Our commons area where you guys had dinner tonight received a major facelift. It was a whole lot brighter than probably the last time you were here. We had some tile flooring that was replaced and the polished concrete in the common areas, hallways, and many of our science classrooms. And the main entrance or security vestibule was installed to improve, obviously, safety and security at our building. And our front offices were also reconfigured in the last couple of years, or over the last summer. I want to tell you a little bit about our major improvement strategies that we're going to focus on for the next 2 years at Berthoud High School. Every year, the Colorado Department of Education requires each public school to develop a unified improvement plan to identify 2 or 3 major improvement strategies that will reduce or resolve the identified root causes so that we can change current trends for students. So what we're going to focus on in the next 2 years here at Berthoud High School in terms of major improvement strategies include the following. One is student engagement, planning to implement more cooperative learning structures and strategies in our classrooms. A second improvement strategy is to focus on attendance to address chronic absenteeism through student, family, and staff engagement. We have hired a classified specialist to focus specifically on re-engaging students and families who struggle with regular school attendance. The third area is cultural competence. By building the capacity of our school staff and students to engage in culturally relevant pedagogy and equitable practices through participation in district-provided Corwin Publishing Deep Equity Training. And that training will start to take place next summer. A couple more things before we get to meet these phenomenal students. A quick fall update regarding athletics and activities. So we had homecoming week, the week of October 4th through 9th, and it included the following activities hosted by our incredible student council and our local booster club. We started with a super fun pep rally. We had a stubble volleyball game one evening, or many volleyball games one evening. That's Berthoud High School's version of powder puff football. We just do it on a volleyball court. We had a community parade, then a bonfire at Grace Place, just down the road here in Berthoud. We had a stadium-packed football game, and ending with an outdoor homecoming dance on our tennis courts, just to the east of here, attended by more than 500 students, which is almost 80% of our student population. So our boys golf produced 2 state qualifiers this past month. Our boys and girls golf programs have grown from 14 to 40 participants in the last 4 years. Our girls softball qualified for postseason, and we finished up the season last weekend at the 4A regional tournament. Our softball program here at Berthoud High School is the only district program to have not only 2, but 3 levels, including varsity, JV, and C teams. Our boys soccer is in a rebuilding phase, and participation continues to grow in both varsity and JV levels. Our girls volleyball program is still going on. It has a current record of 11 wins and 5 losses, and they are in a very good shape for the postseason play. Our volleyball team is currently ranked 13 out of 48 teams that will make the state playoffs. Boys football is also in a rebuilding phase. We have a growing participation in both varsity and JV level football teams. Our boys and girls cross-country program are participating in regionals tomorrow. Berthoud High School has one of the top 3A programs in the state, and it is most likely that both boys and girls teams will qualify for state. Both teams finished in the top 10 state competition last year. Marching band competed at regional qualifying this afternoon at Centaurus High School, performing a piece composed and choreographed by our amazing band director, Sean Heading. Band, jazz bands, orchestra, and choirs held a concert in this auditorium last Tuesday night. Our show choir, which is unique to Berthoud High School, will go on tour visiting local nursing homes and senior centers in early December. And last but not least, we have an esports program. It's our newest CHASA sanctioned competitive online gaming program. Berthoud currently has 2 teams competing in esports this year. Okay, and now to the part of the presentation that we have been waiting for, including myself. I have invited 2 Berthoud High School student clubs and their teacher sponsors to introduce themselves and share some of the unique and valuable experiences their clubs offer to the Berthoud High School learning community. The first club is the Berthoud High School Sources of Strength Club, and its sponsor, Allison Lantern.
Good evening. My name is Allison Lantern. I've been the adult sponsor for Berthoud Sources of Strength for about 5 years now. And I have a few kids who would like to speak to you about what we're doing.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Tollefson. I'm 16 years old. I'm a junior here at Berthoud High School. And I'm going to speak a little bit about Sources of Strength. So Sources of Strength is a national organization that is committed to helping students strengthen their net, so to speak, of support through friends, family, mentors, spirituality, mental health, physical health, etc. These factors are some of what we call sources, some of what we call the sources wheel, which is a central part to our organization. The other aspects of this organization is to work to destigmatize mental health and as well as suicide prevention. And in the most general sense, this is used to empower students about providing them with the resources necessary to be mentally healthy in the crazy world that we have. I'll let Grazia take the mic now.
Hi, I'm Grazia Novak, and I'm a junior here at Berthoud High School. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the good impacts that Sources has had at the national level and then also just here at Berthoud. Sources has many positive impacts, including increased connection between youth and adults in their lives, increased school engagement for peer leaders. Peer leaders are 4 times more likely to refer a suicidal peer to an adult in their life. And youth view adults as positive support systems and feel more comfortable asking for help when they need it. I'll hand the mic off to Mary Beth.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Morgan, and I'm a senior at Berthoud. And I'm just going to talk about some of the activities that we've done in the past with Sources. We did the PS I Love You project, where we wrote a genuine compliment to every single student in the school and placed it on a sticky note and put them all around the school so that students could go find theirs and just honestly feel like they are seen at our school. We've also done a Stress Less Week, which is where we do activities and we hand out tools to help the stress levels and anxiety around finals week. And then we've also given out free hot chocolate with cute little compliments on the cup. So just to make students' days better when they first arrive at school. And I'm going to hand the mic off to Olivia.
Hi, my name is Olivia Blake, and I am a junior at Berthoud High School. Some more things that we have done to help make Sources of Strength and help Berthoud make a better school is when, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we were all online or during hybrid, and we did a variety of activities to help people feel more united, such as a school-wide Google Meet where we put on a movie, and we had a popcorn supply pickup actually through school. And we made sure that we did like connection activities before every Google Meet during actual classes to make students and teachers feel more connected with one another. And I'm gonna hand it off to Kenyon.
Hi, my name is Kenyon Clarkson, and I'm going to talk about some of the current events that we're planning in Sources of Strength. So the most recent thing is our blood drive, which is next week, I think. It's with Violent, which is a blood donation bank. It will be vampire themed because it's close to Halloween. And it will be hosted in our gym here at school. The other current thing that we're working on is having a new student lunch. So, as Mr. Boschman said, the student population of Berthoud has exploded in the past few years. There's a lot of people moving here and a lot of families, and so a lot of students are enrolling in our school. So we wrote invitations and sent them out to all the new students, inviting them to a lunch during one of our Sources meetings. And the goal was to help students feel included and welcome to Berthoud. Our last one, which was last week, was luau themed, and the next one will be Halloween themed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Allison, and your team. And our second group here is Berthoud High School's Knowledge Bowl team, and its sponsor, Ted Fabiano.
Hello. I'm really proud to be the coach of the Knowledge Bowl team. It's a team that has a real rich tradition at Berthoud High School. We're going to meet a couple of our participants this year. Kaylee Shanker, who's going to tell you a little bit about what Knowledgeable is and what we do, was part of our team last year that won the Colorado State Championship. And one thing I wanted to share about that really struck me about Berthoud High School is that after our kids had won the tournament and we sat around just, reminiscing about all the questions that they answered and, the ones they missed, the ones they got right, each one of them shared that they learned all these things from their teachers at Berthoud High School. They talked about a science question. They said, if I didn't have Mr. Kent, I never would have known that. Or thankfully I had Ms. Steele that I know that question about geography, or I know that question about history. And it was just great to hear them and the gratitude that they had for the great teachers that they had at our school. I asked the kids to share a little bit about Knowledgeable and also ask you all a Knowledgeable question, if that's okay. And I also promised, and I didn't clear this with you guys first, but I did promise them if you were unable to answer these questions, that they would become members of the board.
Perfect.
If that, I didn't ask, I probably should have asked you that first, but I'll start you out with a question myself, and then I'll turn it over to Kaylee. All right, so the category is sports geography. And the question is, what two Major League Baseball teams left New York City in the 1950s for California, where they still reside? Mr. Boyd?
The Giants and the Dodgers.
The Giants and the Dodgers is correct. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Kaylee Shanker.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Shanker. I'm a senior here at Berthoud High School. I've been a part of the Knowledgeable team for 3 years now. If you don't know about Knowledgeable, it's a trivia-based club where all of our students, if you have any want to learn or to know or challenge what you know, you can join Knowledgeable, go through tons of different questions at practices about tons of different subjects, talk about history, talk about math, science, get current events, lots and lots and lots of different subjects. So reaches a large field of students, which is a lot of fun. Part of being a part of Knowledgeable is we have competitions where we compete against different schools in the state. Starting on November 6th, Berthoud is actually going to be hosting the first competition of the season. We've got about 7 schools, I believe, that are already signed up to compete, and then we do those competitions from November all the way up into early spring, where we have our state and our national competitions. Like Mr. Fabiano said, we had our team last year compete at both the state and the national level, which was very, very exciting. But Knowledgeable is just a great club to compete as well as work with some of the other students and kind of test to see what you know, and it's a lot of fun. So the question that I'm going to be asking you guys is in the category homonyms. What term used to describe art that is non-representational is also used to describe a brief summary of a scholarly article or a type of non-concrete thought?
Abstract.
Very nice. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
My name is Aiden Preem. I'm a sophomore here at Berthoud High School, and this is my first year on the Knowledgeable team. So my question for you is, what mineral property describes a sample's tendency to break along planes of weak bonding in the crystal structure?
Science.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to
Yes,
help.
It's a science question.
What mineral property describes a sample's tendency to break along planes of weak bonding in the crystal structure?
I have a guess.
Go ahead and guess.
Yes.
If you're wrong, he gets your job.
I'll be wrong. Is it fracturing?
That is incorrect.
Okay. Do you want to come up now, or?
No.
Okay, clueless up here. Dr. Schaefer, do you know?
I'm not sure.
No, we're all English people.
All right, yeah, I know, really, we were all English majors up here, so.
Okay.
What's the answer?
Correct answer was cleavage.
Cleavage.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
I guess you guys wouldn't want us on your team, so.
So we just want to thank you for giving us, representatives of Berthoud High School, the opportunity to share an update with you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was fun.
Any quick questions to stump them? Stu?
Not a question, but Mr. Boschman, based upon the summary that you gave us of the Berthoud High School accomplishments, the fact that the students came with you, told us about sources of strength and knowledgeable, this makes me even prouder to represent Berthoud on the Thompson School District School Board. So thank you all.
Thank you. Stu, appreciate it.
Thank you, students.
Yes, thank you.
And you're welcome to stay, but you're also dismissed because I know you're like all dying to go back and study, right? Because this is a Wednesday night. So. Thank you very much.
Is this guy going to take my place?
All right, that brings us to, is that Dr. Schaefer? Okay. That brings us to item 4.3, which is board and committee reports. And I think I'm just going to start down here with Dawn and go down the lane. So go ahead, Dawn.
All right, so I was here for the meeting with the Berthoud trustees, which was really nice. We also had some data reviews that are helping to get us prepared for when we're reviewing them with a peer in a few weeks. I was at the Special Education Advisory Committee meeting, and we did some really great thoughtful work, as well as talking about how we might bring back the Inclusion Week and when is the right time to bring it. As we know from our last meeting, our insurance is set to go up. So in the JIC meeting, we talked about employee benefits and those kind of things, and we're forecasting I think 7 to 10% increase in the cost of our health insurance for our employees. Although there was some good news as far as some things that we might be able to do to manage it, none of which is set in stone yet, but at least all hope is not lost that we were going to be having some big cost. There's also some really great work going on in the security and emergency meeting, which seems like forever ago now. But we're really thinking about how do we support so we've moved beyond just sharing best practices on how we're supporting our students and their safety needs, their mental health needs, and we're really now digging into how do we make those best practices the process, and what else do we need to do, and what do we need to do within our community and in our bigger communities. I did get the joy of going through the LISA, which is the arts integration path. Bill Reed had their showcase of that a few weeks ago. I'm also it's super fun to be on the design advisory committee. I know that you've done that before, Barb, and it's just so cool to really think about, especially at Con Ball, what can we do that's going to make that space more useful, make it the combined PK8 that we want it to be. And so I just shout out to everyone who's part of that project and the people who are working on it, and the great work that goes into it, as well as the really great community participation in that group. And last but not least, Ferguson High School helped me with some project-based learning, and it is just so cool to see what high school students can do when you say, hey, what would you do? It's brilliant, and so it was really exciting to see what they've came up with in the 3 works. So that is everything I've done in the last month that I can remember.
Thanks, Dawn. Barb?
I attended the early childhood family pie meeting, and that report is attached to our documents. High Plains had their forum on what the community area thought of the design that's already been established for the High Plains, and I attended that. Calendar committee, we're nearly done. Right, Bill? Nearly done. I went to the Big Thompson celebration for their 100 years, and that was amazing to go see all the changes that have come through in that area. It's just a spectacular place, that they have right now. I attended the Sunrise Health Center grand opening this week, and then the Kids Pack this morning, so.
Thanks.
Fine.
Stu?
Okay. Well, yesterday I had the opportunity to judge the Future Farmers of America speech contest at Thompson Valley High School. It was fun to hang out with the kids and hear some really fine student speakers and help them prepare for the next level that they will be participating in. I attended a recent Berthoud High School soccer game. I also, along with Barb, in fact, we were there at the same time, attended the 100th anniversary celebration at Big T. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Big Thompson, Masonville area, but that's such a tight-knit community. And to have had so many people who went through that school 40, 50, 60 years ago come back for that anniversary celebration was really inspiring. And then earlier this month, as the liaison from the Board of Education, I attended the Master Planning Committee meeting, and you'll be hearing a report about some of the work that we talked about later on in tonight's board meeting.
Thanks. Jared?
Yes, this morning I had the pleasure of attending the kickoff for Kids Pack. It's a great organization that we're partnering with to provide meals to families in the district. Earlier, I got to attend the opening of the Sunrise Center, the new center next to Conrad Ball Middle School. I've also been attending football games and tennis matches for Mountain View High School. So tennis season is over, but football season continues, so I'll be attending more football games. Also wanted to give a shout out to Mountain View High School's theater. They are putting on the play for the fall, Clue. So I will be attending that this weekend. Thank you.
Thanks for that reminder, Jared. That was on my calendar. Amy?
I have not attended any committees or meetings, but I did attend the Sunrise Thompson grand opening, and that's just a beautiful partnership to serve our kids in our community here for health, hopefully dental and some mental health services. And then I attended Centennial Elementary, had their Bald Eagle Boogie, or their Jogathon, but they call it their Bald Eagle Boogie, and those kids raised $20,000, so that was great.
Thanks, and I'll just finish up. I attended the open house grand opening as well for the school-based health clinic operated by Sunrise Health that's up by Conrad Ball, and also attended the kickoff event for the Kids Pack and Safeway stores. It's a Turkey Bucks and what's the other one they're calling? Santa Bucks, I guess. It's a fundraising program for providing gift cards at Thanksgiving and Christmas time for families to buy their own. Instead of giving them turkey baskets, the idea is to give them a gift card so they can have some dignity in purchasing their own family meal, and I think that's a really great idea. And I noticed that the last couple board reports I've done have all included other community partners, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to say how thankful I am for the community partners that work with us. This time it was Kids Pack and Sunrise Health and Safeway stores, but there's so many community partners in both Loveland and Berthoud that we work with, and we couldn't do it without them, so I just want to give a shout out to all those partners. And that concludes, I believe, board reports. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, do you have one from Pam? Okay.
Lori, it has been an honor to have volunteered and served side by side with you for the past 8 years on the Thompson Board of Education. Throughout these 8 years, you have had a steadfast and sustained vision of excellence for our students, our schools, our district, and our community. The first 2 years, I witnessed you doing everything in your power to protect our Thompson schools against a hostile anti-public education takeover. Your strength and perseverance is a primary reason our school district survived and is now flourishing. For the past 6 years that you have led as president, student well-being has continued to be your top priority. Your calmness, your clarity through debate, and your grounded decision-making has been essential for Thompson School District's success. Your leadership skills have created a school board which respects one another's opinions and perspectives and works as a team to ultimately arrive at the best possible decisions and outcomes for our students. Through the years, you have led us through multiple complex challenges and also several joyful celebrations. Here are a few of these accomplishments which rise to the top. Finally approving and opening the High Plains pre-K through 8 school, creating and implementing the dual language immersion programs, creating and implementing the agriculture programs, rebuilding trust with our teachers and community, especially starting in November 2015 when you were elected president, hiring our exceptional superintendent, Dr. Schaefer, working to make sure the 2018 bonded bill passed. When that bonded bill passed, that allowed our district to create and open the Thompson Career Campus, the fabulous new Ferguson High School, the Riverview Pre-K through 8 School, the Stansberry Early Childhood Center, the Wade Patterson Field Complete Update. And along the way, a few other notable accomplishments were made during your tenure, including improved graduation rates, the opening of the Sunrise Thompson Health Clinic, increased number of community forums, the removal of racist mascots, and ensuring Thompson School District is one of the very first districts in the state of Colorado to enact a student equity policy. That's a lot of positive improvements for Thompson kids and families over your 8 years. We are fortunate to have you leading our school district. I want to thank you for your leadership, your commitment to our students, your dedication to our community, and your tireless focus and support of the mission to continually improve the public education for our Thompson students. Our district is without a doubt better because we have had you leading our team. I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Well, that's humbling. For those of you that don't know, Pam's been absent for a couple of meetings. She's been fighting a virus. You could probably hear from her voice that she's still struggling a little bit with that, and that's why she's not here, so it's all the more meaningful to hear from her, and I appreciate that. This will be my last meeting in Berthoud, and I probably will be chairing one more meeting because until the election is certified, you get to keep me for one more meeting anyway. But thank you for doing that, Matt, and gosh, that's humbling, and I'm not used to hearing people talk about me like that, so I really appreciate that. All right, that does bring us to the end of board and committee reports, and now we have public comment. I will go ahead and read the public comment statement. I don't know if you've seen, but there's 2 microphones, and you're welcome to come up to whichever one is closer to you. I don't have the fancy timer at Berthoud High School here, so I will be timing you on my watch. You'll have your 3 minutes still, but I'll be, or on my clock rather, my phone. What is this? My phone. I will be timing you on my phone. Let me go ahead and pull up the policy. Because the board wants to hear the viewpoints of the public and also needs to conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner, it schedules time during its regular board meetings for brief comments and questions from the public. The board sets an unlimited time for public participation prior to the business portion of the meeting. However, the time for each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes, and each individual will only be recognized once. Public comments and questions at a regular meeting may deal with any topic related to the board's conduct of the schools. Speakers may offer such criticism of school operations and programs as concerns them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly. The board encourages the discussion of all personnel matters to be conducted in executive sessions. The board president is responsible for recognizing all speakers who shall properly identify themselves, for maintaining public order, and for adherence to any time limits set. Questions requiring investigation shall be referred to the superintendent for consideration and later response. The board delegates authority to the superintendent to adopt procedures from time to time as necessary to allow the public to participate in regular meetings through electronic means. That doesn't apply today. Members of the public will not be recognized by the president during board meetings except as noted in this policy. All right, so I'll call two at a time, and you can either come up to one or the other, however you want to do it. First up, I have Rob Ryan and then Alex Ryan. I'll give you a wave when you've got 30 seconds left so you can wrap up your time. Give me just 1 second here to set my timer. I don't want to short your time. And I apologize, but it's kind of hard for us to see you from up here. It's like we're, in the theater. So I can kind of sort of see that you're standing there, but
Maybe all you need to see.
that's about it. Okay, all right. Let me set my timer for 3 minutes here. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Rob Ryan, 23369 County Road 3, Loveland. For the record, I'm identifying as a voter today. Board of Education and any candidates running for the board, please remember that you serve all kids and represent all of America, not just one political party. As voters, we, the people, need to continue to fight for honest and accountable education system that creates incredible students, not social justice warriors. I encourage every voter to find a balanced voting guide to help understand the breadth and depth of the issues from our candidates to protect the education of our children. If info on political party affiliation is missing on issues important to you, don't support them. I've been involved in the schooling of my children over the past 18 plus years. Our thanks goes out to the many incredible teachers that worked with us and left a positive impact on our kids. The school board reward and support them. We also remember the negative teachers and their impact, protected from accountability within the educational system. Candidates for the board choose to fix this. As voters, we have supported many school board initiatives many times over, all in the name of better education. But what has the ROI been on this? What has the community received in return for the money spent and trusting the school board vision and execution? I have had to re-educate, correct, and supplement incorrect teachings more often as of late. You have changed education, and not necessarily for the good. Candidates and board, you need to get back to truth in education. You were tasked with engaging students and teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic effectively. I've seen the test scores, I've lived the issues. My observations are enough to question your product and methods. Regarding history, you manipulate, cherry pick, and spin incorrectly versus help our kids learn from history so they don't repeat it. The current liberal education agenda has taken us back into segregation and division versus oneness, accountability, and individual responsibility. There's no better America, and current efforts to spin, manipulate, and mince words are not helping. For clarity, I am awake, not woke. Any woke school board candidate needs to help me understand one thing that has worked well with the woke agenda anywhere or at any time, and why doing more of the same still makes sense. I'm shocked that I can attend a school board meeting in Loveland and find teachers wearing a communist-supporting red t-shirt with the raised fist, with pride,
30
and
seconds.
then have them agitated as to why any parent would dare speak at a school board meeting. COVID never has been about masks or personal protection, but fear, control, false data, manipulation, legalism, restriction of even more of our freedoms, and even the ability of completely removing all parental involvement from schools so teachers can do whatever they want. Change my mind. Candidates, fight for an unbiased and apolitical school board leadership, and then be the board that does come together around goals and actions for superior education. Don't lie to me.
Thank you,
Don't tell me
Mr.
what another
Ryan.
candidate says.
Next up is
because
Alex
you don't
Ryan.
know. Thank you.
Alex Ryan and then Nina Winslow. Nina Winslow after Alex.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Whenever you're Alex?
Yes.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Alexandra Ryan, 23369 County Road 3 in Loveland.
Good evening. I graduated from this district in 2016 and went on to graduate from CSU with a degree in finance. I have spent 16 years of my life in the education system, 7 years in public schools, 6 years in charter and classical schools, and 3 years in a public college. For 3rd grade, my parents chose to enroll me in a charter school because they felt their tax dollars would be better spent there. Because of the same failed liberal leadership in the public system, I regret my decision to go back to the public schools for high school. I was not challenged, and school did not prepare me for everyday life. There was no personal finance class, no class to teach me how to interview, no class to tell me how to manage my work-life balance. My parents thankfully filled the void and taught me the keys to success. Why do we continue to set up students for failure? Why do we continue to push students to go to college incurring tens of thousands of dollars in debt and not be able to find a job? All the options for after high school were mentioned, but only one was really encouraged: to get further indoctrinated with a communist agenda and go to college. In 9th grade civics, we took a test to determine our political affiliation. I was excited as I have always enjoyed politics. However, my reaction quickly changed to shock when I began reading over the test as they painted conservatives as heartless and selfish beings. I saw right through the test, but I know many walked away that day believing they were liberal because of the propaganda-laced test. I currently work at my dream job. I got the job because of my morals and values, not my education. In the 5 years since I have graduated, I have had the opportunity to meet and mentor high school girls. I hear all about the curriculum causing an identity crisis. I hear about a district scaring their students into complying and not going against what they tell them. I hear about the extreme liberal socialist agenda being taught. Is this really the best use of our tax dollars? Facts don't care about feelings. Truth isn't truth just because someone says it is. Take accountability and do your own research. This past year and a half has allowed parents an inside look as to what goes on in the classroom. I know if I had a school-age child right now, there is no way I would trust them in the hands of our currently failing education system. Our schools should be a place where free thinking should be taught, facts presented and students allowed to do critical thinking to come to their own conclusions. Instead, we have critical race theory teaching students to hate what our
30
founding
seconds.
fathers fought so hard for. The freedom to come together as one nation under God, regardless of your race, religion, or anything else that is used to try to divide us. You are the leaders of today, but we will be the leaders of tomorrow. We must be prepared. The definition of insanity, according to Albert Einstein, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I plead with you all to stop voting for the same failed policies and ideas that drive our test scores lower, demand more money, and have nothing to show for it. Vote for truth, freedom, and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Nina Winslow and then Ryan McGonigal. Nina Winslow, Ryan McGonigal.
Nina Winslow, 102 East Indiana Avenue, Berthoud. I have been a high school teacher for nearly 29 years. Increasingly, I have witnessed major indoctrination happening, and my guess is that many are naive to that. Why do I think so? Because at the school board meetings that I attended, the teachers speaking to you were wearing these t-shirts, the exact clenched fist and background as the communist salute used by the Soviet Union, even the identical background. Our kids are being indoctrinated. I'm not even sure all the teachers know the history of what they're wearing, but their naivety will help in the agenda of the indoctrination of our day. My appeal tonight is to those on the board who are Christians, as I realize none of this will matter to those who are not. But as a Christian, I take God's word very seriously. Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." A healthy fear, knowing we will all appear before the judgment seat of Christ one day, and we will be held responsible for our actions. Luke 12:48 states, "From the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be required." You have all been entrusted with our children, and that's an extremely high call. Matthew 18:6, "If anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Mask mandates are part of an agenda taking away freedoms and leading us towards socialism and communism. Even something as small as the t-shirts say it all. And through forced masks, you are robbing children of their identities. 3 ER doctors already explained to you the particle sizes and that masks do nothing. Tons of case studies have been given to you as well, but you've refused to listen. I have watched firsthand the consequences of these on my students. The amount of students that were put on psychiatric holds is off the charts. The lack of ambition and emotion is heartbreaking. Depression and anxiety skyrocketing. The dropout rate is extremely high, and the long-term consequences of this are going to be devastating. Proverbs 14:12, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to destruction. Every person on this board will have to answer to God one day regarding how you served him in this position he has entrusted you with for such a time as this. There are many wonderful teachers out there, but there are also many that are so brainwashed themselves, and they pass that on to our kids. Some are pushing gender confusion, critical race theory, and socialist communist ideologies behind closed doors. This is a spiritual war. Parents, I implore you to consider that your children are with the teachers 7 hours
30
a day,
seconds.
and you have no idea what is being put in their heads. They are with teachers more each day than they are with you. Drastic change needs to happen. Morals and values must become important again. This school board election is extremely important. Our children's futures and our freedoms as Americans are on the line, and we need leaders that seek God for wisdom and fear God rather than man. Thank you.
Ryan McGonigal and then Jenny Loggle.
Hi guys, I hope everyone's good tonight. Yeah, my kids are in charter school and they got an early morning tomorrow, so after this I gotta bounce and get them some food and get them to bed. But in 2005, I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States Army when I joined to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Upon that oath, I went overseas 3 times in my 10 years of service and fought in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. I gave up my freedom so other people could have theirs when I came back. And when I came back to things such as mandates, restrictions, CRT, Marxist materials, everything that is being brought into the schools. And it's a fact that you guys need to have a constitution on you. You guys need to have a declaration on you if you're elected into office by the people. Because if you don't, you're not going to be looking at the basic foundations of what our country is built on. We have the freedom of choice. That exists outside of the Constitution, and Article 9 of the Bill of Rights guarantees us those rights. And those are being squandered. Not a school board doesn't have a decision to change that, nor does the local health department. Parents are coming forward left and right about how students are being bullied by educators because they don't agree with the mandates. Kids having documents torn up, being graded on mask papers. It's inappropriate. Aside from that, the board authorized CRT Deep Equity writer Gary Howard, who wrote on growing good white folk. That is racist. Introducing race-based materials into our education system is wrong. Having somebody that comes in and says you need to work on taking down white dominance, preaching to kids in school, that's wrong. And you guys don't see that. This board also has a Facebook group following called the Thompson School District Reform Watch. Anybody that stands up and says anything in opposition to the board gets slandered, their character gets assassinated, they get false information put out with no consequences, and now there's kids that are going to school and coming back with notes in their backpacks hoping that their family members die. This is wrong, and you guys are creating a divide in the school district that's unacceptable. And because of these issues and these conditions existing, and the decision of the school board to take upon these and have these fanatics following them that threaten people, there's a lot of parents that don't come
30
to
seconds.
because they're scared. Because they're going to get called out on Facebook, they're going to get called out on social media and the news, or they're going to have some 3-letter agency come to their home. And the only thing that I have to say to this is the school board and its fanatics are creating a domestic threat situation to the local population. And I implore you, please change your course of actions. I have the right to say this because I'm an expert in this. When I see the division and I see the harassment and threats to the public that stand up to it, something has to be said. Thank you for your time.
Time.
I hope you guys have a safe night.
Jenny Loggle, Nancy Rumfeld. Jenny Loggle and then Nancy Rumfeld.
Hi there. My name is Jenny Laughlin. I'm a kindergarten teacher in Thompson School District. I spoke a couple weeks ago, and I feel like I implored the board to look at a different perspective, and I tried to explain that there's more science. I have done research. I have tried really hard to get my point across, but I feel like the board isn't listening, so I'm turning to parents tonight. And as a teacher in this district, I'm asking you to go down this journey that I've been on, and I'm asking you to do your own research, because the truth that we think that we're being told isn't all the truth. There is more science. There are other perspectives. And a couple years ago, I started this journey because I believe that the Bible is our standard. And when I started to listen to the little things I was listening to, it didn't mesh with the Bible. And so that is my standard, and I believe it's a lot of our standard. I believe there are tons of parents like us in this district that are just feeling lost, confused, and none of that is from God, because God knows the truth, He is the truth, and we're being told over and over that we need to follow Matthew 22:39. We must love our neighbor. Yes, of course, but Matthew 22:38 says we must love our Lord and God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and that is the first and most important commandment. So I am just here tonight to ask parents to please start researching. Like Nina said tonight, when your kids are in with a teacher all day long, they are hearing what that teacher is their opinion a lot of times. There's not curriculum for everything. And so they do their own research. They pull articles from Google, from wherever. There's not a curriculum for everything. And so they're getting it somewhere. I know as a parent, I never saw my kids with a textbook, hardly ever, from middle school on. They were getting articles from various sources. And so we have to just know that most teachers, believe me, most teachers are in teaching to teach because they love children. That's where I'm at. That's where many teachers are. So I'm not up here tonight saying in any way, shape, or form that teachers are out to change your children for the worse. I'm just trying to say that they maybe don't know themselves. And so they're being led astray, and then therefore leading
30
our
seconds.
kids astray. So please research. Please ask questions. I believe we're at a Red Sea moment. I really do. And I believe that if we as parents, teachers, and staff don't step up and don't ask questions and don't check everything with the word, then we may very well lose America as we know it. Philippians 4:13 says we can do all things through Christ who gives us strength. So we just have to do that. We have to be strong, and we have to come together in this.
Time. Nancy Rumfeld, Lisa Winborn. I'm not texting, I'm timing. And that's the only way I can time up here. Thank you. Hang on just one second. And I also am running an agenda up here on my device, so I'm sorry, but that's kind of how it works. Hang on a second, Nancy, till I can reset my timer. Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Nancy Rumfeld, Loveland, Colorado. I would like to thank Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Sievers, and Ms. Schneider for taking the time to talk with me the other day regarding my concerns about the Corwin Deep Equity Program. I am concerned after the meeting that the decision to implement this program was done so with very little knowledge of the content. As Dr. Gabriel did say, she said that the access to the materials I was given was more than what she had seen, and what I accessed was not very much. This is why any school board must take their duties seriously and ask questions. Set the expectation of the level of information needed to make an informed decision. The following seems to be what drives the need for deep equity training. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. The flaw with this is that America is not about equal outcome. This is what socialism/communism is about. Every person in this room does not possess equal abilities. This does not mean you can't access opportunity. The lie of progressivism is that if life is not fair, then government must make it and will make it life fair. The truth is life is not fair. Your life, regardless if you were born white, black, brown, rich, poor, straight, gay, Jewish, Christian, etc., is dependent on how you choose to live, what you choose to do with your life. Not everyone can or will be a winner, but everyone can be happy and successful if they choose to be. The focus on social dominance assumes that a person born or not born of a certain group is privileged or lesser than. This is insulting to every single person who has succeeded and overcome obstacles in their way in their life. Much of the language in the videos I watched revolve around statements like, be advocates and change agents, change the world, everyone has the correct opportunity. Why is this the role of K-12? Why are we investing resources for this? Where is the evidence that this improves student learning? I could not find one example. I believe that there needs to be a lot more transparency with this program, with the materials, with how
30
deep equity
seconds.
inclusion is being implemented in the classroom. We must do a better job with getting input and feedback from all parents, students, teachers, community. The move to include is becoming so broad that we're losing the ability to celebrate the uniqueness of everyone. Let's step back, push pause to make sure we have identified the actual problem and that this is the right solution. Diversity is a given. Unity takes work, and unity
Time.
is what the district needs to focus on.
Lisa Winborn and then Heather Van Bentham. Lisa Winborn and then Heather Van Bentham.
Hi, I'm Lisa Winborn. I'm in Loveland, Colorado. I have two concerns that I wanted to share tonight. My first concern is about the invasive surveys that many of our high school students had to take or will be taking soon. I don't know where the TSD survey was generated, but there is a company called Panorama Education that creates surveys similar to the one used in our district. The co-founder of this survey company is the son-in-law of Attorney General Merrick Garland, who has authorized the FBI to crack down on parents who protest at school board meetings, conflict of interest. One of the large investors in this company is Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. My concern is that surveys like these are being used to data mine our kids to the profit of large technology companies. Additionally, accuracy of these surveys will be low. I've heard that students are afraid that their answers will somehow get back to their parents, so therefore they did not answer accurately. These surveys are extremely insensitive to students who have been sexually abused. 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 13 boys are victims of child sexual abuse. Imagine how triggering and humiliating it is for these students to have to take a survey and answer questions about their sexual experiences in the middle of the school day and then be expected to carry on like normal. I do not approve of these surveys and would like you to put in a motion to stop the utilization of them. My second concern is for the deep equity training for teachers that I heard at the last board meeting will start in February. I don't agree that teachers need this training. Teachers are innately intuitive and compassionate. They do not need to be trained to look for inequity, especially inequity based on skin color. If they notice a student needs extra support, no matter what color of skin, I trust and believe they will extend extra help to that student. I think it's insulting to educators and teachers that they would have to be trained to look for inequity. Additionally, some of the deep equity programs cost as much as $400,000. It's completely wasteful spending to purchase these programs. The money could be better spent to increase teacher salaries or some other type of teacher compensation. Thank you.
Heather Van Bentham and Judy Cobb.
Good evening, Heather Van Bentham, Berthoud, kicking things. I've heard and seen some disturbing things lately. MSNBC contributor writing that the First Amendment doesn't exactly, nor should it, mean that we have the freedom to engage in actions in support of religious belief. A commenter at the last meeting stating that public comment at school board meetings is not a God-given right. Speakers at school board meetings being called domestic terrorists, and the Biden administration is turning the DOJ against us. The Constitution of our United States of America. Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Yes, we do get to act on our religious beliefs. Yes, we do get to speak. Yes, we do get to assemble. One of the only good things about COVID was that we got a peek behind the school door. The collective shock felt around the nation at what we found had been being taught has been profound. A redress of grievances, that's what we're doing here. True threats of harm are not acceptable, and we already have addressed those via laws. Vigorous discussion is not terrorism. How many of us in our own houses have arguments sometimes at increased volumes? This is democracy right here in school board meetings across the country. This is our national family, standing up and pushing back after finding out that we have been dealt with unfaithfully, that our nation's children have been used as political pawns and for social experiments without our knowledge and consent. I just read articles saying that Gen Xers just want to be left alone. My husband and I agree. But also that it's our turn to step up because nobody else is coming to save us. Most of us conservative Christian folks are usually pretty quiet, polite, just want everyone to be left alone in freedom to live our lives. Now we see that we have to stand up, sometimes make some noise, and try to right the ship. It's uncomfortable, but here we are. Let's stay peaceable, but let's stay here for our constitutional right to redress of grievances. Thank you.
Judy Koeb and Darren Rodriguez.
Yes, Judy Cobb, Loveland, Colorado, and I don't have any written comments, but I do have a couple of things I'd like to address. I heard that you were very proud of your progress with making the district comparable with the equity movement. I would just like to point out to you that our country was founded on equality, not equity. And the difference between those two, if you can just imagine a race that is run where everyone starts at the starting line and the ones who have the most talent are the ones who finish first. That is equality. For equity, everyone has to be placed along the route in a place where everyone finishes at the same time. Now, you know that's impossible. The other thing I would like to address, I understand that you're going to be visiting the anti-discrimination process tonight. I would like to know if in your anti-discrimination, are you including the discrimination against the vaccination? Or are you just considering that the discrimination against religious beliefs? And are you considering discrimination against political affiliations? And that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Rodriguez and Brian Caring.
Darren Rodriguez, 545 9th Street, Berthoud. I'm a certified nutrition therapist and a homeschool mom of 3 children. Our tax money supports Tsd schools, and I care about children in our community. I would like to strongly encourage you today to examine all of the science available to stop the mask mandate. In the community, masks increase the risk of infection due to the warm, humid, and non-sterile environment they create. In Gainesville, Florida, parents submitted their children's masks for testing, and results revealed 5 out of 6 masks were contaminated with strep, meningitis, TB, encephalitis, pneumonia, E. coli, and other bacteria. Masks reduce oxygen intake and cause inhalation of CO2, as well as methanol, isoprene, acetone, and up to 250 other chemicals the body is trying to get rid of. Even if masks were helpful, we cannot continue masking until the virus goes away, because no level of masking will be effective at stopping the spread of COVID. Because it's zoological in nature, there will always be animal carriers, and the virus will continue to mutate. Masks are detrimental to emotional health as well, and they prevent children from being able to interpret facial cues from their caregivers and teachers. This is also negatively impacting our children's language development, as lip reading and facial expression is extremely important in communication. At-risk children and those with learning disabilities, those on the autistic spectrum, are affected to an even greater extent. Social development is reduced as masks drive our children into isolation. Our kids are learning that fresh air is contaminated and not to trust others because they may be asymptomatic carriers. Masks, and vaccines for that matter, are not our only hope to improve public health. We can be empowered to make lifestyle changes, to provide the nutritional building blocks needed for a strong immune system. And when illness does occur, we can trust that our bodies are remarkably and wonderfully made to fight infection, when we must have access to treatments that do no harm. Quercetin, liposomal vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3, budesonide, hydroxychloroquine, and ivermectin are a few of the powerful therapies used by many doctors to successfully treat thousands of COVID patients with no fatalities. So we do not need to fear this virus and to keep our children masked.
30 seconds.
2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." I declare that sound mind over the leadership of Thompson School District right now in Jesus' name. I strongly encourage all board members and school leadership of TSD to carefully examine all the science regarding mask wearing and to stop this mandate, this harmful and unfounded practice on our children. And thank you.
Brian Karen and Jenny Mishler. Brian Karen, Jenny Mishler.
Hey, good evening. I'm Brian Karen, fifth generation Lovelander. My kids are sixth generation Loveland, Colorado. So I have a pretty good feed on what's been going on in the school systems for some time. I would like to start off with a little bit of positivity and gratitude. On September 23rd, I got some correspondence from Stu Boyd, and he said, "I asked last night that our just hired COVID director and recently hired COO begin work on an exit plan for COVID protocols." There's been no progress on that, and in fact, Larimer County went backwards a little bit on that, but I would like to extend a thanks because, Stu, you were actually engaging with me, and I really appreciate that. And there were a lot of other parents that had similar concerns and similar questions, and you engaged on that, so I wanted to say thank you for that. Huge thanks out to our teachers. The school that my kids are in, the teachers are doing phenomenal. They have handcuffs, we'll say, coming down from the school board. All these different entities are getting pressures from everywhere, and they're doing fantastic. So I have to give a shout out for them. I grew up with a lot of teachers in my family. I rely on their insight, and when I ask them, what is it supposed to look like? What is supposed to be coming from a school board? What are these interactions supposed to look like? They say, well, school boards are supposed to be focused on the education of our children. They're supposed to engage with our community, and they're supposed to listen to parents and people in our community. There's a lot of dissatisfaction right now in TSD, and there are a lot of reasons why. Transparency is a huge issue. Lori Ward, I have a really good example. She, to her personal satisfaction and the detriment of our kids quite a few months ago, was advocating at Larimer County for mandates behind our backs. We elect these people to represent us, and she went behind our backs advocating for mandates that stripped us and our kids of their rights. That is not transparency. Silencing parents, keeping us out of school. We were not allowed in the schools for an entire year. There is no transparency there at all. These are the same kids that we live with, by the way. And then, worst of all, encouraging differing opinions to leave the district. I have another great example with your name attached to it, Mrs. Ward. My wife and myself were very involved in our school system. We volunteered at our school, we coach, we're engaged with a lot of different kids and a lot of different activities. When I suggested that we don't like the vector that TSD was going, Lori Ward's reply to me was quite dismissive, and she seemed quite eager that we would be leaving the district when I said we were looking at other options. I don't think that's right. We look at across the United States, 1.5 million students have been disenrolled from public schools in the last 2 years. 1.5 million. There are reasons for that. Here we say, okay, you guys are trying to sound very virtuous and say we're trying to keep kids in school. We're trying to focus on education.
30 seconds.
We're lacking on the fundamentals. There's this fear-based guise of protection that has a lot of negative consequences. The rates of literacy and the rates of our math scores at TSD have actually been declining lately. That information is very hard to find. It starts to look like political actions when we're masking that information, we're keeping parents out of the schools, we're silencing parents. So I hope the voters recognize this. I hope they recognize the negative status quo, and I hope they're able to get some changes. Current board, the 4 hand-picked follow-ons that you guys are running with are running on failed policies and mandates.
Time. Jenny Mishler, and Addison Gregory. And then next is Addison Gregory.
I'd like to start off by saying, again, I think I've thanked him every time I've been here. Dr. Schaefer, I'm always just impressed at the level that you engage with our students and the activities you attend. So I think if anything's come out of me attending these meetings, I have a great appreciation and understanding for what you do. On that note, I would like to, it's kind of moot at this point because Lori is leaving us, but active listening does not include your phone. And I'm not talking about the timer during public comment. As the principal for Berthoud High School was talking, you were on the phone 4 times. 4 times. Texting, scrolling, messing with your iPad. How disrespectful for somebody who's here making a difference with our students every day. I've also been approached by several teachers who've come to me anonymously because they're afraid to speak up. I'm not here about masks or vaccines this time, and I hope the rest of these parents that are here start paying attention to the things that are available to our students. I'm here to talk about a couple of books that have been in the media lately. Come to find out, they're actually on the shelves of our libraries in Thompson School District, available to high school students and middle school students. I actually took the liberty of reading these books so that I would understand that this was not being overzealous or a misunderstanding, and certainly not a proponent of any type of censorship. What these books are nothing short of pornographic. There are actual photos and illustrations of oral sex acts, and those are available on our Thompson School District's libraries. So I encourage you, of the board, to write down these titles. You're welcome to go search them. That's how I found them. Gender Queer, Lawn Boy, Out of the Darkness, Hoop City, This Book is Gay, Queer There Everywhere. The Queer There Everywhere book starts out with a passage that actually indicates that George Washington himself was gay, or imagine if he was. I question, why does that matter? Let's teach the great things that George Washington did. His sexual orientation has no bearing on any of that. Neither should any of our students. Neither should their surveys. Neither should their pronouns. They're here to learn. These books' availability within our libraries without parental guidance or explanation are dangerous. I would like to think that these books found their way to our shelves as a way of librarians to create an inclusive culture, but I am questioning the vetting process as we choose these books. I am a huge proponent of inclusivity and LGBTQ community,
30
but there's a
seconds.
better way to do this without exposing our 12, 13, 14-year-old students to what I consider pornographic. They've made my own peers shudder, and yet these are available to our students. So guys, this is way bigger than masks and vaccines. Talk to your students, talk to your schools, listen to teachers, because they're coming out in groves to those of us because they're afraid to speak to you. That's the culture that's been created. I'm hoping the incoming board will hear us, will see us as not crazy, that
Addison
we're just
Gregory,
actively
and then
engaging in our
Katie
students'
Klopper.
education.
Addison Gregory and Katie Klopper.
My name is Addison Gregory, and I'm an 8th grade student at Turner Middle School here in Berthoud. And I do not have a lot of time, so I'm going to get straight to the point. You all should be ashamed of what you've put families through, what you've put your teachers through, and your school administration, and most of all, what you've put us students through. You've caused a division between us that has been going on for far too long. Whether you choose to wear a mask or not, whether you choose to get vaccinated or not. You've caused that. And we elected you guys to protect us as students, and to provide us a safe and well-rounded education. And that is not happening anymore, and that is very, very sad. You can speak unity and acceptance all you want, but all of your actions speak much louder than all of your words. You have done us as students a monumental educational disservice, and I hope you guys go home thinking about the actions you have taken and thinking about the consequences and effects that they have caused us. Thank you.
Katie Klopper.
Hi, I'm Katie Klopper, and I feel like in this environment I need to explain my background.
I'm white, Hispanic, Native American. My sister was gay. We had a friend named Bill Stacy that became Stacy in the 80s. So after saying all of that, I'm a big believer in transparency. Transparency means having thoughts, feelings, or emotions that are easily perceived, easy to perceive or detect. I demand that this school district, as a mom and a citizen, that transparency comes from you as a board and the school district. Why is this meeting not being streamed live? It's been planned for weeks, and all of a sudden there's a technical difficulty going on right now. Why did you send home Chromebooks to the kids in March and April of 2020 with no firewall protection? That was just like Lot in the Bible handing his daughters over to the world. Why do you text when we speak? Why aren't you paying attention to when we are talking? Why is deep equity not announced? Why is this not going out to the parents? Why is it not being explained? Why is it not being told, hey, we feel like we need to invest in deep equity in our schools, blah, blah, blah. Why are you not communicating this to the parents? Why is your gifted and talented program failing our gifted and talented schools? I'm a military spouse. This is like the 10th district I'm in the worst gifted and talented program I've ever encountered. We are failing those bright kids. Why are there gaps in your curriculum? I've spoken to numerous kindergarten teachers, and I was a kindergarten teacher, and they have to supplement the curriculum because there's gaps in phonics and the phonemics with the reading and the brain development for the kiddos. Why are you insisting on pronouns when it makes people really just more uncomfortable? Having a gay sister, she thinks they're stupid, and that's coming from someone in the community. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is my niece goes to Lucille Irwin, and Peter Pan is now being an it, they, or them. Peter Pan was a male in the book as it was written. Going to that, I'm homeschooling two of my kids, and my son is learning introductory logic, the fundamentals of thinking well. Rules for defining by genius and difference. We're learning definitions, how to define them. This is an educational book. This is what we should be giving our kids in the classroom so that they can think for themselves. A definition should state the essential attributes of the term. A definition should not be circular. A definition should not be too broad nor too narrow.
30
A
seconds.
definition should not be unclear or figurative. A definition should be stated positively. A definition should not be the same part of speech as the term. This is what we should be teaching the kids so they can make their own decisions with what we're teaching them. We're not going to intoxicate them and indoctrinate them with this foolishness. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of in-person public comment. I believe, Matt, we have a few by phone. And Dr. Schaefer, could I ask you to reply to, I'm not sure if it was the last speaker or the one before, about the streaming of the meeting. It's not my understanding that there's a technical difficulty tonight. Is that correct? We never stream these meetings from Berthoud?
Yeah, I'm happy to have Mike Hausman come up and provide an explanation.
Could we get Mike before we get you, Matt? Thanks, Mike. I just would like to answer to, why the meeting isn't being streamed. Thanks.
Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, Mike Hausman, Public Information Officer. Yes, to answer the question, it's not a question of there was a problem tonight specifically with streaming. We do not stream these meetings when we are in Berthoud 2 times a year because we're not able to. The streaming equipment that we use is hardwired into the control room back in Loveland, right above the boardroom where we produce the meetings, and we're just not able to push it over the air. We do record the meetings, though, in their entirety, and then tomorrow a copy will be included and will be placed on the YouTube channel just like normal. We're just not able to put it out live, that's why. But it has nothing to do with a technical issue at the last minute.
Thanks, Mike. Perhaps we could look into what it would cost to wire this building so we could do that. Okay, sorry, Matt. Go ahead with the calls. Okay, thanks.
Today I'd like to address the lack of transparency and lack of trust that is growing within the district. Good afternoon. My name is Christina Karen. I live at 2526 North County Road 29 in Loveland. Phone number is 970-669-6769. Today I'd like to address the lack of transparency and lack of trust that is growing within the district. Strive 2025 outlines 4 focus areas. There are a lot of great buzzwords touted within the plan, but it seems to be misrepresentative of what is actually going on within the district. The student achievement focus states that TSD will focus on educating the whole child. Please tell us if this includes the Colorado Healthy Kids Survey that asks students about their sexuality, sexual involvement, gender identification, highest level of mother's education, etc. Please tell us why this survey was not addressed in the district email, why parental consent, opt-in or opt-out forms weren't included in any district email, or why they weren't even available on the TSD website. The inclusive and supportive culture focus states that school and administrative campuses will foster a welcoming environment, feeling of hope, sense of belonging, and a feeling of being supported. Please tell us how this is the case when we've been told that unvaccinated students will be subjected to extended quarantine. That is medical discrimination. TSD is a destination of choice for individuals who are seeking a rewarding profession. We have shortages of bus drivers, nutrition services, and teachers. If we are a destination of choice, why are people not lined up at our doorstep for these positions? The stewardship of resources states that TSD will be transparent in its partnership within the community. Why then was an email not sent out until October to elicit participation on the family and community engagement policy updates? It's convenient that it's right before the election. I'd also like to ask about the transparency with information collected on our students. Why has it not been announced that COVID vaccination status is already available in the student information system? It's not even approved yet for 5 to 11-year-olds. Why has it not been disclosed that multiple genders have already been added to the system? There is nothing wrong with either of these, but there is with the fact that it's not been disclosed. How do you propose to protect our children from unwanted touching? How will you address the concerns over Governor Polis's statement that students should get vaccinated without parental consent? How will you ensure this doesn't happen on your campuses? We expect that no student should feel threatened, be touched inappropriately, aren't given medicine without consent. How will you ensure this is the case with vaccinations? If there is nothing to hide, why are we making important information not more readily available and easily accessible? Thank you for your time, and respectfully, we ask that you address these questions.
Matt, before you play,
I am
Matt.
leaving a message regarding.
Hold on a second,
Turn that
Matt.
up.
before you play the next one, would it be possible for Laura Lee or for somebody from your office to send us that last set of comments via email so that we can listen to them? I only caught bits and pieces of what she said, and I'd like to
It should be
hear.
a little louder this time. I've got the mic closer.
All right.
Laura
Sometimes
Lee
it's
can do
also
that.
about them on their phone, like some of them
Yeah.
are louder than
Sure,
others.
I
Yeah, for
understand, but if you could perhaps send that one to us so
We'll
we
share
could
all
listen to it.
4.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mask mandates at Thompson School District. My name is Ashley Weideman. My address is 3266 Sedgwick Circle.
There's something with this one. This one is hung up last time too. Let me try a different one.
Hi, my name is Dee Vecino, D-E-E-D-E-E-V-I-C-I-N-O. I am a school board director candidate for District B. My email address is cd4tsd.com, and my address is 1238 Intrepid Drive. President Ward, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer, parents and community members, thank you for allowing me to address you today. I grew up in a small rural town in North Florida. My first grade class was made up of Black children, Hispanic children, Asian children, white children. We all grew up together, we played together, and we only saw one color. The topic, by the way, is the REACT report. Sorry about that. So the one color that we saw was poor. I have no memory of ever being judged for being white, and I have no memory of any of my friends or their parents using racial slurs or judging our friends
based on the color of their skin. We were kids. We were poor kids. And we didn't care. We just wanted to play. I wonder when this changed. I wonder if this changed. Has it really changed? In my experience, I still see children of all races and ethnicities playing happily together. But Thompson School District seems to see things differently according to the WEAC report, the Western Educational Equity Assistance Center's Equity Compass Review that was commissioned by the school board last year. TSC is guilty of systemic and structural bias. We have been told that the principles of CRT are not in our schools, and yet the WEAC report is rife with CRT terminology. Parents are angry because they feel misled. They see elements of CRT seeping into the schools and feel powerless to stop it. Free societies are defined by inherent freedoms and rights. They are inherent because they are not given to citizens by the state. They belong to citizens by the virtue of their birth. And who are the citizens of TSC? We are. We, the people. The school board cannot revoke what it does not own, and this categorically applies to freedoms and rights of we, the people. Absolute power always lies with the people, and we, the people, lend you this power on a temporary basis. Your power is not absolute. Like Martin Luther King Jr., we, the people, want our children to be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Members of the board, I urge you to rescind the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Plan you intend to roll out in early 2022. This plan does not reflect the values and morals of we the people, and it is your job, your solemn responsibility to represent the people. As an alternative, I ask you to consider a unity plan, a plan that seeks to unify rather than divide. I agree that we need to address the diversity we have in our schools. And instead of hiring DEI trainers steeped in the principles of CRT, let's educate people about the needs and contributions of others without pitting men against women, black against white, or the LGBTQ community against the straight community. Unity training brings together diverse people who seek harmony and are willing to commit themselves to work on common goals and common visions for our schools. Let's unite and not divide. Let's teach our children how to work with and not against one another. Thank you for your time. My name is Vanessa Way, W-A-Y. I'm at 1738 Bonnie Drive in Loveland. My phone number is 562-756-5164. I'm just calling to thank the board for implementing the mask mandate. I'm a strong supporter and stand behind the science. I know that Larimer County has just begun the mask mandate, and I just wanted to thank the board again for doing what's right. And I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.
Let me try to get this one last one that
Okay.
has been hanging up. Give me just a second. I'm going to give it another try in a different way.
Hi, I am leaving a message regarding mask mandates at Thompson School District. My name is Ashley Weideman. My address is 3266 Cedric Circle. My phone number is 970-488-9500. My message that I'd like to share today, I understand, is not a direct topic on tonight's agenda. However, I'd like to share my thoughts and opinions, as I have not done so in the past. I'd like to bring to the board's attention a current issue that is affecting our students' mental health and is distracting our teachers and students from their primary goal of teaching and learning. This issue is causing unnecessary psychological stress and distraction to our students in a social environment that currently has Colorado in the top 5 of suicide rates. This school board has been fixated on COVID-19 policies and has repeatedly ignored the requests and feelings of the vast majority of parents and students wanting choice over their own lives and have instead cowered and given in to a few of the few. The issue I speak of is the authoritative mask mandate this board has forced upon the district in an attempt to rid the few of fear that our students are super spreaders to people like yourselves. Or maybe it is simply the possibility that you don't want to stand up for what's best for our students. You're only looking out for yourselves. During the time this district has enforced this draconian mask mandate, the county statistics show no decrease to positive cases,
and indeed also show that your math schools have no better case rates than schools that have allowed choice. The simple truth is that this board continuously shows that it thinks parents and students are incompetent and that they need your everlasting control on this matter. I request that the school board remove the district's current mask mandate, allow choice in mask use, and return to the focus of education content and quality free from this distraction. I understand Larimer County just passed a mask mandate. However, Thompson School District still has another layer in which they can look at changing. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
That's
Matt.
the last of full comments.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, that brings us to the end of the public participation portion of tonight's meeting. Next up is item 5, which is action consent items. I will go ahead and read through all of those, and if there's anything anyone wants to pull off, let me know. And I've got Barb to read the Classified Staff Appreciation Week proclamation, and then Amy will read the Family School Community Partnership proclamation. So we've got 5.1, approval of personnel extra-duty coaching recommendations. 5.2, approval of expenditures over $50,000. 5.3, second reading of policy and regulation JFBA-JFBB choice enrollment. Item 5.4, approval of proclamation Classified Staff Appreciation Week, October 18th through 22nd. Item 5.5, approval of proclamation Family School Community Partnership. Is there anything on there that anyone would like to pull? No? All right, hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve those items, and then we'll read a couple of proclamations.
So move.
And seconded, everybody. Okay. Got a motion from Stu and a second from Dawn to approve the action consent items as a whole. So Barb, if you would read the proclamation of Classified Staff Appreciation Week.
All right. Classified Staff Appreciation Week. Whereas classified school employees are an essential part of the Thompson School District's educational system, and whereas classified employees are dedicated to assisting in the provision of quality education for the students of this district, and whereas classified employees perform the daily cleaning and maintenance of school property, safely transport students, prepare and serve nourishing lunches, maintain records and reports, and assist in classrooms and on school playgrounds. And whereas the Thompson School District would like to recognize the role classified school employees hold in our educational system and to salute them for the invaluable service they provide to our students and to our community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Thompson School District proclaims October 18 through 22, 2021 as Classified Staff Appreciation Week and urges parents, students, and administrators to salute these dedicated men and women. Thompson R2J School District.
Thanks, Barb. And I don't know if we've got any classified employees standing in the room right now. It's hard for me to see out there, but raise your hand if I've got a couple of classifieds. We want to say thank you, and I know there's more out there doing their work as well, so thank you. We appreciate all you do, and we know this has been a tough couple of years for classified employees. Just know that you're really, truly appreciated. Amy, you've got the Family School Community Partnership Proclamation.
Yes, I do.
Did you have a copy of it there?
I have it on my.
Yep, on board docs.
Yeah. Whereas, despite ongoing progress, Colorado continues to experience an unacceptably high student dropout rate, academic achievement gaps between students from different racial and socioeconomic groups, and a low rate of enrollment and persistence in post-secondary education. And whereas, in order to address these issues, the state is actively seeking new strategies to improve public education. And whereas, studies show that when parents, families, and schools collaborate effectively, students achieve higher levels of academic performance,
demonstrate better attendance and homework completion, and are less likely to drop out of school. And whereas students from all cultural backgrounds tend to perform better academically when their parents, families, and the professionals at their schools bridge the gap between the culture at home and the classroom. And whereas students benefit from active involvement by well-informed and engaged parents and families in their life and education. And whereas Colorado desires to continue increasing graduation rates, academic achievement levels of all students, and raising rates of enrollment and persistence in secondary and post-secondary education. Therefore, I, Jared Polis, Governor of the state of Colorado, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Family and School Partnership in Education Month. And it's signed in the seal by Governor Polis, October 1st.
Thank you. All right, I've got a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments on that? No? Hearing nothing, Laura Lee, if you would call the roll, please.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Dawn Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Jarrett Roberts.
Aye.
Thank you, and that passes unanimously. Next, we move on to discussion action items. And item 6.1 is Mary Blair Elementary Disposition Recommendation. Todd Piccone?
Yes, good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, and Dr. Schaefer, Todd Piccone, Chief Operations Officer. Tonight, in front of you is the recommendation that the board approve Mary Blair to be utilized for facility use by a nonprofit entity. As part of the Conball consolidation, staff recommended on the September 22nd board meeting to use Mary Blair Elementary as a community use facility. For action tonight is approve the recommendation that Mary Blair School Facility will be used for facility use by a nonprofit entity or entities that provide affordable services to substantially similar individuals and families as those served by the district, and to delegate authority to the superintendent of schools and his designee to identify a facility user that is in the district's best interest, and to negotiate the terms of a facility use agreement to be presented to the board for final review and approval. So for your consideration tonight is that action. Next steps after this, if approved by the board, would be then to engage in a RFP process to evaluate a facility use agreement to then bring forward to the board for final approval.
So board, if you remember, this is an item we discussed last meeting, I believe. Are there any questions for Todd before I call for a motion? No? Okay, then I will ask for a motion and a second to approve the recommendation that the Mary Blair School facility be used for facility use by a nonprofit entity.
So moved.
Seconded.
Got a motion from Barb and a second from Jarrett to approve the the recommendation to use Mary Blair School as a community use facility. Is there any discussion on this board?
I do have a question, Todd. When might you come back to us with the proposed use of the building?
So we have two steps. One is we are going to engage the community one more time to get a selection or a different opportunity for different programs on top of the master plan. So we have the master plan committee's comments. We're going to engage the community again to further those program options. So I would anticipate more in the November, December timeframe to have those comments in, to create an RFP, and then to come back to the board.
So you expect to come back to us within 2 or 3 or 4 board meetings then?
Months, not board meetings. So yeah, in the you're right, correct, yes.
Okay.
Christmas is closer than I thought, yeah.
Yeah, that answers my question.
And Todd, when you say you're going out to the community, does that mean like a public forum or something?
Yeah, we'll do a similar forum that we have, in the design groups, is ask for what values what programs the community is looking
Okay.
for, just to make sure we get additional voice and input for that RFP.
Great, thanks. Anybody else? All right. Laura Lee, I keep forgetting you're down there. If you would call the roll on this motion, please.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Garrett Roberts.
Aye.
Thank you, and item 6.1 passes unanimously. Thanks, Todd. You can just might as well stay there, because you are up next on item 7.2, High Plains, oh, no, I guess you're not, sorry about that.
6.2. Monroe.
No, okay, wait, I'm jumping. 6.2, Monroe Elementary Disposition Recommendation. That is
Yes, thank you again, Madam President. So for recommendation and approval tonight is that the board declare Monroe Elementary School as surplus property. So a little background, as part of the consolidation project with Monroe, Mary Blair, and Tomball, Monroe was evaluated by the Master Plan Committee to be labeled as surplus. So tonight for your approval is to begin the process, or I guess this declaration allows staff to begin the process necessary to effect the sale of such property in accordance with real property, section policy D and R, school properties disposition and procedure. So if so approved, staff will move forward first in separating the early childhood section lot from the land, because that has to be, go through city to annex, or I'm sorry, not annex, but actually parcel that building away from the property. And then we'll begin the process, but not obviously go forward with anything until we've got final consolidation complete in 2023. So this is allow us to start that process to then negotiate contracts with then which would be brought to the board in executive session.
Questions? And just to clarify, Todd, you said that the early childhood center there will be parceled out and maintained by the district, that
Correct.
building?
Correct. We have to go through a city process and public hearings, but yes, it'll be parceled off as its own site just for the district.
And that will stay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions? Todd, or Stu?
Let me just clarify and make sure that I remember correctly that the master planning committee, which is composed of community members, feels that this is a good and viable way of disposing of Monroe Elementary. Is that correct?
Correct. We went through several options and evaluated, what was the best for the district, and working with the master plan committee and talking about the pros and cons for different options. This was their recommendation. Yes.
Okay. That's what I recalled. I just wanted to make sure I was recalling correctly.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the declaration to declare Monroe Elementary School to be surplus property.
So moved.
Second.
Is that Dawn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, motion from Dawn and a second from Barb to declare Monroe Elementary School to be surplus property. Is there any further discussion on this? No? Laura Lee, if you would call the roll, please.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Garrett Roberts.
Aye.
All right, and that passes unanimously as well, and declares Monroe School surplus property. Item 6.3 is a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, with the Colorado Department of Health and Environment for full-service COVID-19 screening. And is that also you, Todd?
It is. You'll get
Okay.
to see Gordon Jones in a little bit, so
Okay.
I don't want to take all the time.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, so tonight, the recommendation is that the board approve the MOU with the Colorado Department of Health and Environment for full-service COVID screening. Staff is seeking approval to enter into this MOU with the Colorado Department of Health and Environment in order to begin the coordination process to provide optional COVID-19 surveillance testing. The proposed MOU defines responsibilities for each party. The proposed optional screening will be available first for secondary athletes and activities, and then phase into secondary schools. A little more background and history on this proposed MOU is This really will allow us to move forward and work on logistics planning with the state. The state has contracted with individual vendors, so they supply us a vendor. We then work with the vendor to provide surveillance testing at all the schools. I will say that this process or this program through the state is moving very fast. So as we get the MOU signed, the implementation process and all the nuts and bolts are really what's going to be figured out in the next couple of weeks. But there is no cost to TSD, and there is a proposed incentive from the state at no cost to us to students who want to be part of the surveillance. So it is completely optional. It is an option for students to take, just like it's an option for a vaccine. So tonight, this would allow us to move forward with coordination in the hopes that you'll hear Katie O'Donnell talk in a future presentation that providing for surveillance testing will allow students to stay and not quarantine. So, for example, if a sports event had positive cases and the sports team did the surveillance testing, they wouldn't have to quarantine so they can maintain in their activity. So that's really part of the goal behind this, is to keep students in their activities, because right now, when you're in an outbreak, you have to quarantine, which keeps students away from their activities. So that would be step one, is to implement as part of the athletics and activities coming up in the next month. And then from there, roll it out to other schools as we coordinate this program.
And it's
Yeah, go ahead, Barb, and then Dr.
it's a total opt-in, so parents have to sign to participate?
Correct. So they would receive before any testing was offered, they'd receive a opt-in form for that.
Okay.
Yes.
Was that your question? Yep. Or your comment?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that was great. I have a question. Before I call for a motion, I think maybe a couple of us have questions, but mine was, I couldn't see in this MOU if it said how often this would happen. My understanding is it's once a week.
It is. It would be once a week.
Per kid. I mean, they might be at different schools or whatever, but.
Correct. So the initial thought is that the vendor would come up and visit different schools every day throughout the week. So they'd be here in essence 5 days a week, but at each school only
Be
one
in
day a week.
Berthoud on Monday, they'd be at Mountain View on Tuesday or something like
Correct,
that. Okay, okay. I'll start with Amy, question? No? Okay. Jared, question? No,
Let's
do.
Okay. Todd, are other districts in the state of Colorado already participating in this? Are we kind of the groundbreakers? What do you know about that?
Yeah, I would say we are not the groundbreakers, but we are on the leading edge. There's a few other districts that have started just this last week, actually providing tests to students. There's quite a few districts that are signed up, but they're in about the same spot that we are as far as figuring out logistics and how this actually works moving forward. But there's a couple districts, a large district in the metro area that started, and then one just west of us.
Is this a pilot program, or is this fully enacted?
No, this is a fully enacted, federally funded program.
Okay.
And the goal behind it is when you look at the mitigation steps, masks are one, vaccines are one, and then optional surveillance testing is one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, board? Do you know how soon that they could be up here?
Katie can answer you more direct, but I know within the next couple of weeks, we've actually already have coordination meetings scheduled with them to start looking at how we're going to implement this.
And they provide all the staffing to do the testing and the tracking or
Correct. They provide the
paperwork?
tracking, they provide the testing. We provide basically the space and coordination with the school to figure out what times work.
What time at
if
what
they're-
school?
Correct. If they're there from before school to after school or whatever works.
And at no charge to the district, is that what you said?
It is no charge to the district.
Wow.
There actually is also a opportunity or option that the district would get incentives for students taking it. But if that is it, then our proposal and recommendation would be give that back to those schools. So the district doesn't keep it, it goes back to the schools for certain items that the state has issued and listed out for proper use of those funds.
I guess I do have one question.
Sure.
And the incentive that is paid to the people getting tested isn't just limited to the kids, it's also to staff, correct?
No, at this time it is just students.
Oh.
Yeah.
But can staff get tested?
Staff can get tested, yes.
But
and
there's no incentive, just.
There's no incentive. Yeah, even the administration building, or, they could test at schools as well. So
Okay.
that opportunity's there.
And one more question, since we're talking about incentives that kids might get. So a child who's vaccinated can still test just to get the incentive if they want, right?
That is it's an open option, yes.
It's up to
they
them,
could do
okay,
that.
great. All right, any other questions? Nope, okay, I will entertain a motion. All right, let me go back to my agenda here, put my glasses on. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the MOU with the Colorado Department of Health and Environment for full-service COVID-19 screening.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Dawn and a second from Barb to approve the MOU. Is there any further discussion? Laura Lee, would you call the roll, please?
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Amy Doran.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Dawn Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Garrett Roberts.
Aye.
Thank you, and that passes unanimously with a 6-0 vote. All right, Todd, I think you're done for a minute. Next up is item 6.4, which is the District Advisability and Accountability, District Advisory and Accountability Committee membership approval. Don Huckabee.
Yes, Madam President, Dr. Shaver, members of the board, Don Huckabee, Chief Academic Officer. Tonight we bring forward to you parents, teachers, community members, administrators who are interested in serving on our District Advisory and Accountability Committee for the 21-22 school year, and then some of them, this would be their first year on, and so they would be then actually having a membership for 2 years. This is an annual requirement we bring to you from the state of Colorado that all districts have a District Accountability Committee, and it must comprise of at least 3 parents and or community members, 1 teacher and 1 administrator. So we're very pleased with the with our turnout, and as we look at our list here, you'll notice there's representation from families from all levels, from early childhood through high school, and a nice mix of staff and families and community members. So we are asking you to approve this list tonight so that they are then the voting members. We continue to recruit and ask people to join. We had a great meeting in September where we had all the school accountability committee chair people were invited, and so that was a bigger meeting for us and actually helped us identify and recruit some additional new members.
Don, would there not be a Board of Education member on it?
There is. That person is not a voting member.
Right.
And
Got
so
it. Okay.
we will have a member
you.
appointed, yes.
Yeah, and that'll be somebody new. Excuse me, I was choking there. That'll be somebody new starting after this election with the new board.
And it's also still the case that this is the membership, this is the voting membership.
Voting membership.
However, everyone's invited, everyone can and should attend, and there is information available to engage everyone.
Absolutely. We meet monthly. Typically, it's the last Tuesday of the month. However, November and December are a little off, and March, when we've got those, those breaks that happen. So those are a little bit different, but otherwise it is every the last Tuesday of the month. And absolutely, we post on our social media accounts to let community and families know when those meetings are.
Any other questions? No, Stu?
Dawn, do I understand that these are only the new members coming onto the committee?
No, actually, some of these members have been on the committee for a number of years, and so it's a rolling 2-year if they
Okay.
want to re-up.
But this is not a complete membership list.
This is the list of those who want to be the voting members this year. So we do have additional people who come to the meetings, but they're not regular attenders
All right.
and not on the voting committee.
Let me tell you then what my concern is in looking at this list. I'm kind of curious as to why all schools or even all feeder systems are not represented in the list.
Well, it's whoever comes to the meetings. We do active recruitment. We send out information to all of the school accountability committees, asking them to send a representative. And these are those who are interested in serving on the district committee.
Okay.
And this does meet the CDE's membership criteria.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, the CDE, it's three parents or community members, one teacher, one administrator. And then if you have more than that, then you always have to have a higher percentage of parents and community members, which this list meets that requirement.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the DAC membership list for whatever year we're in, 2021 to 2022.
So moved.
Second. I've got a motion from Dawn. Who was the second?
I think it was Amy.
Was that you, Amy, that seconded? Okay. Motion from Dawn and a second from Amy to approve the DAC membership list. Any further discussion? Okay, Laura Lee, if you would call the roll.
Stu Boyd,
Aye.
Amy Doran,
Aye.
Pam Howard, Lori Vista Ward,
Aye.
Don Kirk,
Aye.
Barbara Cruz,
Aye.
Garrett Roberts.
Aye.
Thank you, and that is unanimously approved. Thanks, Dawn. All right, board, we doing okay, or do we want a break?
Break.
Yeah,
Break?
it would be really good to stand
Okay.
up a minute.
All right, we're gonna, we don't have a whole lot left, but we're gonna stand up and give ourselves about a 10-minute break. So we'll be back at 8:15. Here, I'll unplug so you don't trip.
Yeah.
I will.
You just have mom, like, hard, and you don't
Okay.
feel well.
Yeah.
It's my sciatic. It's my old person illness.
So
I'm at a point where I
the November
have a
3rd
window about
meeting, at this point, you're thinking that you will chair the meeting.
this afternoon.
It'll take a while to certify.
I should have waited, but they only do it Tuesdays.
Okay, it won't be official. Gotcha.
And that's what the rules say. Oh, we're back 3 minutes early. Are we all here? All right, I'd like to call us back to order, please. Thank you. Next up is item 7.1, district update on COVID-19. So do we have just Katie?
There she is.
All right, Katie, you're up. Katie O'Donnell.
Just Katie O'Donnell. That's all you're getting today.
You know, Katie, you might need to pull that down.
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, but
Okay.
speak good and strong,
Okay, I'll try not to
because
yell.
we're old up here.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. You guys have slides in front of you, is my understanding. So just walking through, like we do every meeting, what we're seeing in our schools and the trends. You'll see our cases have started to go up again. That's what we expected to see as the weather got colder and activities move indoors a little bit. Not overly alarming, but it is something we're watching and starting to see those cases come back up in our high schools again. So just something we're keeping an eye on. And the graph, you can see we are starting to see, when you look at slide 4 with the schools that are represented, cases starting to hit at our schools that we haven't had cases at yet. So just something we're watching and working with our principals on notifications and working through that with the parents and explaining it all, because it is different this year and it is a little confusing. When you look at our current Tsd numbers for this last 2-week period, we had 62 positive cases. That's not overly high compared to our last 2 weeks, but we are seeing a good amount starting this Monday, so you will likely see a little uptick when we revisit with you in a few weeks. Outbreak school status hasn't changed. We are now publicizing our outbreak and pre-outbreak schools list on our website. It was a parent request that I've had since I've been here of just, we want to know where our school is and if they're still in that outbreak or pre-outbreak status, so we're trying to be a little more transparent about that. So you can kind of take a glance as a family and see whether your school is on that list or not. Testing updates for you. Todd obviously did an update on that, but we are moving forward. It's really just another layer for mitigation to keep our kids in school. It's our biggest focus this year, obviously. Nothing is required about this. So we're talking about parent consent. Every parent gets to make that choice. Nobody is pushed into that. And Todd mentioned this, but we're really going to start with a focus on our high schools and slowly rolling that out in our middle and elementary schools. Logistically, my team will be handling as much of the logistics as we possibly can, coordinating with the state so that it's not a burden on our school staff. They're already doing a lot for COVID. So going to be navigating that here in the next month or so. So stay tuned. I'll have more updates as we know. One of the biggest differences, things that we're still working through, is that how do we do test to learn and quarantine, especially for our outbreak schools. So there's still some state discussion happening at that level and some county discussion as well. That should be worked out in the next 2 weeks for us.
Katie, can I ask you a quick question so I don't forget it? When you say it, you and your team will be coordinating with the state, it's you and how many other people?
I have 4 contact tracers.
So it's you and 4, so it's 5 people. Okay, thank you.
And then we do pull in some of the operations staff as well, and nursing staff will be helping a little bit here and there as well.
Thanks.
I think for the biggest updates for us, just obviously you guys are aware that the county issued a countywide order requiring masks to indoors. That included schools. It went into effect at noon today. The biggest focus of the metrics that we're not at from a level of achievability is the hospital metrics. So there is data in that order that states that we have to have a certain number of, I think, ICU capacity and COVID patients in the hospital before they would review removing that order. And we expect, as you guys have heard, our hospitals have stayed at that high level for about a month now. So I think we'll be with this county order for a while. And then we're really trying to make sure that we're just keeping an eye, making sure there's consistency, and we're staying, following our own guidance and order, because nothing has changed on our end as far as that is concerned. Vaccinations, so our biggest thing for us, again, you'll hear it's not required by Thompson School District. We won't be requiring it, but I am starting to get a lot of questions about it, especially as the age range is potentially lowering. We are starting to see a slow increase in vaccination rates in our eligible kids right now, which is just interesting. As we roll through September, we started to get parents letting us know that their kids had gone out and gotten the vaccination series. It does change quarantine restrictions for students, so it is a big motivator, and that's county and state guidance around that. There is parent interest in this 5 to 11 range. It's a little hard to judge where we're going to land on how many parents are really going to be interested in moving forward as soon as that is released, but it looks like early November it will be approved. So we will be working with our providers here in the community to offer some options for our students to go get vaccinated, and then the county's also offering some support for that as well. So we'll be utilizing what we have and assessing the need. We don't want to set clinics up if we don't have the demand for it, but we want to be ready to have that available if that's what our parents want. Do I have anything else? As we're looking at risk scores, we sit in that high level. I believe we'll sit in that high level for a while from the county, high level from CDC as well. If you look at that updated map, the entire state of Colorado is red right now. And if you look at our COVID patients in the hospital from today or yesterday that I pulled this, 92 and 105% for ICU capacity. Those are those indicators that I think will remain high for a while. And if we look at our data from last year going into this part of the season, we just started to see cases go up starting early October and through December. So this isn't unique, but it is something we'll certainly be watching. And I think that might be it for me. Other questions?
Questions, board. Dr. Schaefer.
Yes, hi Katie, thank you. I know I've been, probably should keep this on, so great. I know I've been asked by members of the community, as we look at hospitalization rates, I know that our hospitals are regional. Do you know The occupancy rate of those in the hospital, are they Larimer County residents? Are they coming from all over? I mean, can you comment on that?
Yeah, I can. It actually came up on a call we had with the county earlier today. So we have a regional capacity. We don't separate out Larimer and Weld. We look at those populations together because we share transportation within our hospital systems between our two primary ones. 90% of what we're seeing here in our Larimer County hospitals are Weld and Larimer residents. I will say too, we are seeing that transportation is getting tougher because a lot of the hospitals are filling up. So when we look at hospital data here locally, we still have a lot of Larimer residents that are being sent elsewhere because our hospitals are fuller than they can accept. So it's not the best situation, but they're saying 10% are outside of Larimer and Weld right now.
I also have a follow-up question. So I know, 1 week or 2 weeks don't make a trend. I was on a call today with Larimer County. It appears that the high school rates among students are actually declining. Is that a true statement?
That is what I heard on the call as well, but it is definitely not what we're seeing locally in our schools. So I think that data was pulled from Sunday. I'll be curious to see what that data looks like over the next 2 weeks.
Katie, could you repeat what you just said? It was a little bit muffled by
Sure.
your mask.
Dr. Schaefer mentioned today on a county call, they said they're seeing lower rates at the high school age range across the county. That data was pulled on Sunday. They do a weekly update for us for Mondays. But our cases have started to increase starting for us on Monday. So when we're looking at what we're seeing trend-wise, we'll have to see what we end up with this week and next week and whether our cases continue to go up.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, are we doing anything, I know when vaccinations just came out and, we encouraged teachers were in one of the first waves to get vaccinated. Are we doing anything similar like that with boosters?
That's a good question. I'm getting a lot of questions about it. Our teachers are in the booster range and we're encouraged to. So as we've done some communication internally, yes, they are encouraged to go get their boosters. Some are comfortable with it, some aren't. I think the biggest issue we're having is the boosters haven't completely rolled out for non-Pfizer yet. So if you were a teacher who got Moderna, they haven't quite verified that you can go get the opposite booster yet. Once that happens, I think we'll do some more consistent messaging out for our employees.
And then I have one other question. The Larimer County dashboard, if I look at that at 8 o'clock in the morning and then I look at it at 8 o'clock at night, is it the same or does it change?
It changes. So
Okay, so I'm not losing my mind.
No.
Okay.
No, it updates throughout the day. Different metrics update at different times. So you're going to see different data
Okay.
from the morning to the evening.
Thank you.
Yep.
Questions down here?
I'll just ask one more. Again, I get lots of questions, so I want to make sure I elevate them. And Katie, I think you're able to answer some of them. There's questions on timing by the Larimer County Department of Health that this was issued for today. So the question is why and what was the trigger to make that decision?
So my understanding, just in the conversations I've had, a lot of it was based on the hospital piece, right? They're seeing the escalated rates. What can the county do to try to get those numbers to level off, especially knowing we're going into the surge side of the year when we see those cases go up anyway. I think the bigger thing is we're seeing escalated community cases, right? So even if it wasn't impacting our hospitals, our numbers are a lot higher now than they were this summer. One of the biggest things that I think we look at here, at least county-wise, is we're seeing a lot of Delta variant, and I had a parent call about this today, and I think we can do a better job explaining what we're seeing. The Delta variant is much more contagious. So even the cases that we saw at the end of the school year last year, we didn't have as much spread. Here we do see spread, and the masks are one more way we can minimize that. They are not perfect, and they do not stop all the spread, but they're one more level of mitigation, and I think that's one of the pieces the county looked at, if I had to guess.
Any other questions, Dr. Schaefer? Anybody else down here? Okay, Katie, thank you.
Of course.
Let's see, next up, item 7.2, High Plains School Addition Funding Update. Gordon Jones.
Madam President, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board, I'm Gordon Jones, Chief Financial Officer for the district. This update will have to do with the proposed financing for the addition being planned for High Plains School. In alignment with Strive 2025, on the first slide, you can see this is primarily associated with Focus Area 4, stewardship of resources, and desired outcomes of increasing alignment with the strategic plan and providing transparency in the use of those resources.
Hey, Gordon, I need you to just speak up a little bit or move closer to the mic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's much better.
There you are.
Perfect.
Much better?
No, seriously, that's what we love.
Okay.
Thank you.
So first, a bit of history related to the High Plains School original construction and what's being planned with this one. The district did, in 2006, enter into an Urban Renewal Authority school funding agreement with 3 entities: the district, Loveland URA, which is Urban Renewal Area, and Centerra Metro District. The original IGA, or Intergovernmental Agreement, laid out the parameters for how the district would receive funds from that URA agreement or TIF agreement, tax increment financing, for the explicit purpose of supporting infrastructure within the URA boundaries. So that's a very key point to keep in mind as we talk about figures coming up here. All of these documents, or all of these entities or groups, the URA, which is Urban Renewal Area, the IGA, the Intergovernmental Agreement, deposits to the school fund, all of those are coterminous with the same ending date, which is in 2029. The URA school fund is what the district receives money that's allocated to, or funds that are allocated to them. And those funds are dictated by, first, the assessed valuation within the URA area, and then that's applied to the mill levies that are in place. So the 2005 and 2018 MLOs, and I'm sorry, the 2005 and 2018 bond, and then the 2006 and 2018 MLO revenue, mill levies. Deposits to the school fund are then a revenue stream that's used to satisfy rental payments on the certificates of deposit, so making the principal and interest payments on those certificates. This is the same structure that was used for the original construction that's being proposed for the addition as well. And I'll explain some of the numbers here in just a second. Any additional dollars that are left in the school fund after these expenses have been paid would remain in the fund and be available for the district use. They don't go away. And any additional bond or MLO passages that take place that would result in a mill levy between now and 2029, those would then be involved in the calculation as well. But everything that's in place right now would remain in place. Moving on to the next slide, it's important, I think, just to see this is a slide from the Larimer County Assessor's Office that shows the actual tax increment financing, or TIF, area that we're speaking about here. It's referred to as the US 34/Crossroads Urban Renewal Plan. But in green, you can see the areas that are within the boundaries. And I highlighted the 2 schools. There's 2 Thompson School District schools that reside within this TIF area. That would be High Plains and Mountain View. The next slide is probably the most complicated of the presentation to understand what that certificates of participation structure looks like and what it means. So there's really 3 parties that are involved. There's the Thompson School District, who would issue the COPs. There's a Thompson School Facilities Corp, who then assigns their rights essentially to a trustee. In this case, UMB Bank is the trustee that the district uses. And the investors, those people that buy those COPs or purchase the COPs for investment purposes. So as you can see with some of the boxes, some of the words, it involves a lease and a lease-back structure. So the district provides collateral, if you will, for the COPs that are issued, for the value of the COPs. That interest is transferred to the Facilities Corp. The Facilities Corp hires or contracts with the trustee. The trustee then is the one that makes the payments to the investors. So you can see from the comments there, Thompson assigning a lease with the Facilities Corp. Trustee manages that relationship with the investors to make sure they get paid back from the proceeds that the district gets on an annual basis from the school fund, the deposits to the school fund that take place. This is, when I say coterminous, typically we see from a financing arrangement a 10-year, a 20-year term. This is actually proposed as a 7-year term to make it coterminous with the expiration of all of those other entities. So when the IGA expires, the TIF area expires, those school fund contributions expire at that time. So the preliminary plan is to make the payments that are being made, which are essentially rental payments for the school district, to be able to continue using the space. Those all expire at the same time in 2029. A key point here is the district never relinquishes ownership in the building that's being offered up. In this case, we'll see on the upcoming slide what that collateral is. So the district never loses ownership of that, and once all the rent payments have been made in the leaseback arrangement that the school district has with the Facilities Corp, that the lien is removed from that building and title remains unencumbered back to the district. Think of it as a mortgage. So as people are making a mortgage payment, they, yes, use their home, they live in their home, but they don't technically, they do technically own their home, but there's a lien on that home until the final payment is made, very similar to this arrangement. I should add that this structure, this method of leasing and leaseback and payments is very common. It's been in place. The certificates of participation is something that's been in place for quite some time. The district is a little bit unique in the creation of the IGA with the other two entities and having a revenue stream that's dedicated back to the district here. The next slide shows that is High Plains School, if you didn't know. It's all of High Plains School, not just the addition. But Area A and Area C are the original pledged collateral, if you will, that have a lien on them from the original construction as it's being paid off through the rent payments. Area B, which was part of the original construction, and then Area D, which is truly the addition that's planned here, would be at that same relationship as A and C are to the original construction, that B and D would be to the proposed addition. I think the next slide shows an interesting history of the assessed valuation within that US 34/Crossroads URA area. Of particular note, let me explain it first a little bit. The blue line represents total assessed value within the TIF area. The orange bars represent the percentage increase each year in that assessed valuation. So keeping in mind that from the tax perspective, even numbered years are assessment years for assessed valuation, and odd number years only look at new construction, and oil and gas is reevaluated every year. So every 2 years is a full revaluation of the assessed valuation. AV over the time period, or over the last 10 years, has increased 5.9% over the past 10 years. That's assessment and non-assessment years both. 9.2% in assessment years and 2.7% in non-assessment years. The financing assumptions that we'll see on the next slide, keep in mind those numbers, 9.2% in assessment years. The assumption made conservatively from a financing perspective is that growth in assessment years would be 2% in future years. 2.7% is the historical over the last 10 years, and 0% is the assumption on the proposed financing arrangement. The last slide is the cash flow or the funds that are available in the school fund. Just some comments down the left-hand side there, the bullet points. These are proposed rent payments that relate to the addition. The existing rent payments that you see in the fourth column from the left are the original construction that took place. The third bullet point is just what I said, with 2% assumed growth in AV in the assessment years and 0% in non-assessment years. Estimated true interest cost associated with this transaction, again, at current prices, current interest rates as of 3 days ago, is 1.4%, which is a tremendous borrowing rate for anybody to be entertaining at this point, 1.4%. The comment that I made previously, that any balance remaining in the school fund can be used for capital construction projects within the TIF area. So those are the two caveats. It has to be capital construction related, and it has to be for facilities within the TIF area. In the numbers that you can see, which is the projected cash flow, you can see the year in the first column, the estimated beginning of year balance in that school fund that's maintained by the city of Loveland. That's where those dollars go, and then the district requests, the trustee requests of the district requests of the IGA or the LURA, the Loveland Urban Renewal Area, to release those payments to pay the COP holders when those payments are due. So that's the balance that's at the beginning of the year. Proposed rent payments, it would be the annual, again, thinking of it as a mortgage, these would be the mortgage payments on the new addition. The fourth column are those same payments on the original construction. The next to last column is the estimated contribution to the school fund each year. And the last column is the estimated end-of-year balance in the school fund. So that's a lot of words, more pictures in a slide deck than I typically have. Feels a little scratchy to me sometimes, but a lot of numbers as well. These figures are certainly not all my work. I've done some work in the projections here, but have enlisted the help of bond counsel, which is Rick Budden with Kutak Rock, of municipal advisor, which is Maddie Pradanovic, primarily with Hilltop Securities, to vet this work. And third is the underwriter, Stiefel, who served as the underwriter for the district on the latest bond issuance in 2019. All of those have been consulted. It's a great team that we have. So any work that I prepare here has certainly been vetted by not just me, but other finance professionals and legal professionals. The proposed timeline here would be to present this to the board again at the next meeting for approval. That is not, there's 3 documents that have to be executed. There's a resolution that the board would adopt. There is a lease and a lease back. So those are the 3 documents that would be involved in this transaction. It is the permission to, but not a mandate to issue COPs. So imagine, if you will, the interest rates that I talked about. If there's some catastrophe that would send interest rates skyrocketing and make this not a viable solution, the district has the ability to say, no, we are not going to do that. Even with the adoption of the resolution and the lease back agreement, it's an opportunity to, but not a mandate to, issue COPs, likely in the January timeframe. Questions I could answer.
Questions, board?
Gordon, first question, can you remind me of the timeline for completion?
I may look to my counterpart, but I believe it was for opening in the 2023-24 school year, so the fall of 2023.
Okay, so a couple of years from now.
For the addition. Now, obviously, High Plains would stay open during that time while the construction was taking place.
Yes. Also, who or what is the Thompson School Facilities Corp / trustee who makes the principal and interest payments. Who is that?
That is typically the board.
Oh.
The board president primarily would be the one signing those documents. The important factor there is that it's the trustee, because I can tell you that investors wouldn't want, nor would I want, the responsibility of having to make interest and principal payments to the purchasers of the COPs. The trustee takes care of all of that work, as they do with the bond, the outstanding bonds that we have right now as well.
Okay. And my last question is, well, first, a little background. I'm a little bit familiar with the certificates of participation because the Berthoud Recreation Center is going to be financed via that same method, and I went to a couple of sessions where that was explained to the residents of Berthoud. In your last slide, there's reference made to rent payments. Are the rent payments mortgage payments, or what's the difference between a rent payment and a mortgage payment?
The rent payment is essentially associated with the leaseback option. So the district is issuing the bonds, or not the bonds, I'm sorry, the COPs, certificates of participation. The facilities corp or the trustee has the rights to that debt, for lack of a better word, although debt is a complicated term because this is not recognized as debt under a Tabor perspective.
Right.
So I hesitate to use the word debt. That's then the leaseback option, which allows the district to maintain, while they have a lien on their property, they're leasing back the use of that property. So those payments, those rent payments, are the rent payments on that leaseback option that the district has. The trustee takes those rent payments and then disperses the principal and interest payments to the investors that have purchased the COPs.
Okay, thanks.
I have one question, Gordon. Will these COPs be fulfilled at the same time as the ones from the original construction? Did you say that?
That's
You did.
correct.
Okay.
So the first issuance on the original construction was in 2014, let's say, and those go through 2020. No, it was later than 2014. It must have been 2015, 16. Those terminate. They have a term through December of 2029. So let's say that's a 15-year time period. These would have a 7-year time period, also terminate or have final fulfillment in December of 2029.
And that's when, is that when the LURA and all the fund, it all wraps up in 2029? Okay.
All of those expire at the same time. So everything, the debt service, although I hate to say the word debt because that's not truly accurate, the payoff of the COPs, the end of the intergovernmental agreement between the district, LURA, and the Metro District, and the TIF area itself expires at that time. At that time, all of the assessed valuation comes back into the overall
regular
district's assessed valuation.
And then any money left over in that account, I guess.
School fund is the proper term.
Say there's $1 million or $2 left, $1 million or $2 million left in there or whatever. What can we do with that?
You can use that, the district can use that for capital construction within the TIF area,
So only on Mountain View or High Plains?
or any potential
New
future
school.
school that could be
In that same neighborhood.
erected by that time.
So we can't take that, instead of doing this addition to this brand new, well, relatively new school, we can't take that money and air condition Bill Reed.
No, you could not, because that would be outside of the TIF area. It's very specific that those dollars have to remain so in the TIF area. So the bond is very separate from the COPs. Their requirements, the way they work, the term of those, what can be done with those funds, very separate, yes.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Barb?
Just attached to this, there are 3 fairly heavy documents. Is what you've explained pretty much what those are?
Those 3 documents are the resolution, the lease, and the lease
purchase
back.
agreement. Okay.
And you'll hear those same terms in my upcoming presentation for the agenda item right after this, with a little different twist on them.
And this will come back for approval at the next meeting?
At the next meeting, yes.
All right, any other questions? All right, let's just move on to the next one then, which I think is still you, Gordon, right? Item 7.3, which is Building Exceptional Schools Today Resolution, or BEST Resolution.
So while the district has used this COP, or Certificates of Participation method, for the original construction of High Plains and this proposed addition, the state for the first time is entertaining this same approach in their BEST program. So they have really two different phases of their BEST program. You've heard about the projects that we've done in the first phase of requesting for the dollars. It's a match. The district puts up a certain portion. BEST, the state of Colorado, CDE, BEST, puts up a matching, not a one-for-one, but some level of funds to expand that project. We have used that on several items within the bond fund. So we had contingency or premium dollars that were available in the bond fund that we've used as the district's match, so we didn't have to come out of pocket from the general fund or anywhere else. They were building fund dollars that were there to then leverage those dollars to turn $4 million into $7 million or $6 million, just expanding leveraging the amount of money available to the district. The state of Colorado now is taking a separate pool of funds from last year's allocation from the legislative budgeting process, and they are issuing COPs as well for that program to be able to expand the reach of that program. There were limited dollars, and this expands or leverages the dollars that the state has available as well. The district applied under that program for the Con Ball renovation. So the $12 million approximately that the district would contribute, again, out of bond premium dollars, would be matched at approximately, I want to say $5.3 million amount in COPs that the state would issue to get funding back to the district. So all of a sudden that $17.3 million project for the Con Ball reconfiguration is now funded $12 million by bond dollars that are already in the bank, so to speak, of the district, leveraged by another $5.3 million from the BEST program. They have the same three documents that they're asking districts that are participating in this program to execute as well: resolution, lease, and lease back option. This is a little bit different because the state of Colorado is issuing the COPs rather than the district issuing the COPs. The district pledged collateral for that, which is Edmondson Elementary School is the collateral that the district has pledged. The state is doing all of the due diligence in that to validate the value of that building. Again, the district is not relinquishing ownership of Edmondson. I want that to be very clear. It's not a transfer of ownership. It's a lien that's placed on that. The district still maintains the building, and then the lease back document gives the district the right to continue making those payments not the payments, to continue using Edmondson as a functioning school within the district. And then the state will pay back the investors. The state's trustee, I believe is Zion Bank is who they're using. The trustee of the state will then pay the debt on that's owed to the investors of those COPs issued by the state of Colorado. So a similar yet different structure, but the same three documents that would be brought back to the board at the next meeting for authorization to be able to participate in that program.
Okay, and then the burning question I'm sure we all have is why Edmondson is the collateral on this loan when it has nothing to do with the project?
It was I'll backtrack a little bit. First, it was there was some difference in legal opinion on High Plains on whether a different building could be used in that case. Based on the language in the IGA and the URA and the TIF area, all those things, it was believed best and most conservative to use a building within the TIF area. That's why the new construction is being pledged of itself. One of the requirements that the state has for their COP BEST program is that the new construction or any work that's being done is not the leveraged asset or not the liened asset. And Edmondson happened to be on our statement of values that we use for an insurance purposes. The value of the building is the closest to the 5.3 million funding that the BEST grant will cover.
Okay, that makes sense. Other questions, board? All right, and I'm assuming this one's going to come back next time for approval as well?
That's correct.
All right. Thanks, Gordon. And last but not least tonight is item 7.4, first reading on policy JII, student complaints, concerns, and grievances. Don Huckabee?
Yes, thank you. And tonight, we bring forward to you the last of the student policies that have a required update for updating of the non-discrimination clause in it. And this is basically from House Bill 21-1108, modified the definition of sexual orientation to no longer include transgender status and adds the terms gender expression and gender identity to any statutes that prohibit discrimination against members of a protected class. So the changes that we made to policy AC, which is our non-discrimination policy a year ago, as well as other policies within the student conduct section in particular, as far as discrimination, those all met the requirement before this statute was even in place. So all of those policies will stay as they are because they do meet this requirement. But this is one that we didn't bring to you a year ago that needs an update. And so we would be bringing this back to you for approval at your next meeting.
Questions, board? What was the one you referred to as the anti-discrimination AC?
Policy AC is the non-discrimination policy, yes.
Thank you. I was looking that up real quick here. Hang on just one second, Don. I just want to take a look at that policy.
Okay.
Okay, I remember it now. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. And that will come back next time for approval as well. Item 8.1 is Families Partnering in Education PIE report, which is a written report that's attached this month. And that brings us to the end of tonight's agenda. Future agenda items and requests for information. Reminder that we do not have a study session tomorrow. What else, Dr. Schaefer? Are there any housekeeping?
No, there's just a couple of fall plays that were mentioned. I know Mountain View is doing Clue, and I believe Loveland High School is doing Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh, the same weekend?
Same weekend, but
when
on
they do
different
that.
days, so you can actually do both.
So I can spend my weekend watching plays, okay. Anybody else request for information or? Nope, seeing none, if there's no objections, I will call us adjourned. Thank you.